So I will call the Halifax Board of Selectmen meeting on Tuesday, September 28th, 2021 at 6:30 PM to order. The meeting is being taped by Area 58 and being broadcast out through Zoom. First on up is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so because Ashley's not physically present, I'm just going to remove the approval of the executive session meeting minutes because I didn't get those to her. And then we do have one communication I'd like to add to the agenda that came in. I thought it did. Charlie, did we get an email from Jason yesterday about the test and program order? That just go to me.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the working in school?
Yeah. You didn't print that one? Okay.
Yeah.
Hold that one. I have it on my phone, so I can. So I'll just add that as a communication, but. So with those changes, is there an approval for the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so because you're on Zoom, Ashley, everything has to be a roll call vote. So Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay, so we have the regular session meeting minutes of May 18th.
Move it.
Is there a second?
Okay.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Is there a motion for August 11th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay, skip over the executive session. So I'll read this one. I move to affirm approval of the following warrant and commitments. Vendor warrant number 27 for $74,250.07, and I abstain from 631, 632, and 633. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Is there a motion for the ones that I abstain from?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, I abstain. So ambulance commitment, August 6, 2021 to, September 6, 2021 to September 12, 2021 for $180,776.17.
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Ambulance commitment from September 13th, 2021 to September 19th, 2021 for $65,941.99. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. How are we doing on time? 6:40. Okay, so next up we have the payroll warrant. And I wrote which ones I abstained from here. 6. So I move to approve the following warrants. Payroll warrant. I'm going to abstain from 686, 689, and 693. Total for the warrant number 28 is $380,935.04.
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Troy?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And myself, yes, and then somebody should move the other ones.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yep.
Troy?
Yep.
And I abstain. Vendor warrant number 28 for $253,752.12.
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And withholding warrant number 30 for $127,747.
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor, Troy?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right, we've got 2 minutes approximately. Selectmen bills. So I'll make the motion on this. This is a motion for Selectmen's bill, $100 for the insurance. This is a bond for the assistant town clerk. And then we have a MIA Property and Casualty Group bill for $227,371. This is for workers' compensation. And it's just property, casualty, and workers' compensation.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor, Troy?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right.
I have an appointment at 6:40.
Yeah. Todd, do you want to come up to the... Tom, might as well. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. You're ready to be appointed to the Finance Committee? You interviewed for it previously, so...
I am, yes, yeah, I interviewed previously, I think back in June or so, when I had submitted the original talent form. I think there was 3 positions open at the time, which subsequently filled up, and I was appointed to the Capital Planning Committee, which I've been participating on, Tom and others and such, and so my understanding is the position opened up, so as I mentioned before, I'm happy to, it was my original interest with the talent form anyways, was the Finance Committee. So certainly, willing to assist and think I can add some, value to the team. It will be new to me. It's the first time, operating in such capacity in a town, environment. I do have extensive experience in budgeting and like the financial service sector and, banking and things of that nature. But, so it will be a bit of a learning curve. But again, I think I have a lot of a good skill set to bring to the table and assist the team.
Okay. Troy, do you have any questions?
Do you have any preconceived ideas of what you might be doing?
No, I'm kind of going into, like I said, first time, so somewhat blindly, but, I've been to several meetings and such, so I have an overall idea of kind of what's involved and things of that nature, so I know, some of the heavy lifting's kind of starting to kick off now, so happy to jump right in and get engaged with the team.
Did you figure out which liaison assignments you're going to stick them with yet?
That's next week. So we've all asked, everyone else has benefit of pre-knowledge. Whatever's left, we'll make sure Todd gets as the new member of the team. But he has an excellent financial background, good training, Navy vet. He's got some community financial experience, more than I had when I joined the committee.
He's a Swabby?
Say again?
He's a Swabby?
He was, yes. And I'm a Swabby's kid, so we're going to do okay. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to having Todd on the
Had 2 brothers in the
committee.
Navy.
Oh, is he? Oh, great.
So this is a filling of a seat, so it's,
Well, the finance committee met last night and approved having Todd on, so this requires the board's votes also.
okay. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a date? Do you have the date?
It's on your, June 15, 2023, it's behind your pink sheet.
So June 15th, 2023.
Okay,
And holidays on off.
Right. That would be your term.
okay. I'll second the motion. All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next appointment is at 7, so we've got 18 minutes, Charlie.
So recycling vacancies, the deadline for payment of September 30th, the date deadline for November 1st, so the board will continue paying the vacancies on the meetings in October, and then November 9th, the one that was vacant, we won't receive on November 1st. The board's received another 81 abatement requests. These are the normal, for the most part, either they have haulers or they have a vacant unit that they provide an electric bill to show that these have been used. There were 2 additional ones. One, we had a house fire at a certain address that's uninhabitable right now. And the other is a moving, in the sense that the family's moving out at the end of this month, if they're going to put the house on for sale. When we've had a big request for that, in general, we've said no, because that is part of the settlement between whoever is selling the house and is buying the house. So my recommendation would be to approve the first 81, also the house fire one, and not the one where we have the moving. But the board, it's up to the board to make that decision.
What are the 2?
So the 2 out of the ordinary, one was a house fire, which is at the bottom of the list. You should have listed the need for it, but the next to last one on your list there in need for a house fire, which is uninhabitable. The second is for the family that's moving out at the end of the month. So the house will be unoccupied, but in general, when we've had a house for sale, just like the water bills or electric bills or anything else, it's a part of the settlement. Who's going to pay the cost of the recycling fee? As part of the settlement, the buyer or the seller, they work that out. And generally what happens is the buyer, if they're in the midst of selling it, will pay for the fee, and then they work out the buyer to be the seller. The buyer says, well, for instance, I was there in July, August, and September, I'll pay 1/3 of it. And you, the buyer, you're going to get it for another months or 1/4 of it. And the buyer says, I'll pay the 3/4 of it.
I would move all but the last one that you mentioned to be approved.
Yes, Ashley?
Can you mute when Charlie's talking? Because we're getting a backfeed echo of him talking into his microphone and then your microphone picking him up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So do you have a motion, Troy?
Yeah. Move all but the last 4 mentioned moving.
Moved all but the moving one?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second, Ashley?
I second.
All those in favor, aye. So Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
So I'm going like, you skipped on the approval of executive session minutes, we'll deal with them at some other meeting. On the official town of Halifax page, you try to put together exactly what information you'd like on the page. The board had discussed this a couple of meetings ago, so we're just going through and making sure what the board wants and doesn't want. In terms of the agendas, I'm not sure if you all want all the agendas, none of the agendas, some boards and committees. The agendas are, of course, posted on the website already, so that they're for the public, even if someone's not on Facebook, they're available. On the hearings, similarly, hearings are almost always part of a public meeting, so they're part of an agenda. So the hearing notices and such would be up on the town's website. Again, if you want the hearing notices to be posted on the Facebook page, that's possible. Both for the agendas and the hearing notices, though, it is a question of how is the information going to be sent to whoever's posting and who's going to be responsible for posting the information. From the town clerk's office, of course, they handle the postings on the town website and they post the physical notices here at Town Hall. I'm not sure there should be the responsible party for posting up on the official page in addition to those two other places. So whatever the board wants to do, we'll follow that, but just logistically, we need to figure out how that information is getting, who's ever posting it, and who's posting it.
Are you saying the department head, you don't want the department head to post on there?
Well, I'm not saying, no, right now, departments send their meeting notices and hearing notices to the town clerk. Town clerk puts them up on the website. Town clerk also posts the physical piece of paper with the agenda on it. If the board wants the agendas to also be posted on Facebook, we need to figure out who's doing it and how that information is getting to that person who's doing it. Because whoever's going to be doing it, they also have a number of other responsibilities. And, you know, the Facebook posting won't be the official posted within 48 hours of the meeting post, but, you know, if someone's worried about timeliness, then that ends up being a priority for that person, even if they've got other duties that normally would be more important. So I don't know whether you want the agendas posted, but if you do, we need to figure out the logistics of how that information is getting, who's posting it, and the person or persons who are actually posting it. Because we're going to be limited, you know, the official page, in general, and Susan can correct me on this, generally there's only 2 people on a page that have posting rights to post on the page. So we don't, it's not a situation that we can designate 15 or 20 people to be posted.
So
Am I correct on that, Susan?
No, you can't. You can designate however many people you want.
Caesar, why don't you come up to the mic, because there's probably going to be a few more questions. That way Ashley can hear it as well.
Hello, everyone. You can have as many contributors to a page as you want. However, the policy that I wrote limits it to two to a department. So that way there's not too many hands in the cookie jar for posting and making sure that people aren't just posting what they see fit.
Does Civics Plus have a update to just when you post an event to post to a Facebook page?
Not natively, I don't think so, but I am looking at alternatives that would pull calendar feeds, you know, Outlook, right, like I can subscribe to the town calendar via my Outlook calendar.
Yep.
So I'm thinking there's something similar that I can do with a third-party app, but I haven't done any testing because the page hasn't been approved, so.
Who are normally doing it now?
What is it?
Who's doing that now? Who's posting?
Well, the town clerk's office posts the agendas, departments themselves, or depending on if they send it to me, Charlie, or the clerk's office will post minutes. As far as events, that goes to the, you know, that's kind of a shared responsibility. If it's a meeting, the clerk's office posts it. If it's someone saying, hey, I just want to have my event posted, it can go to me, it can go to Charlie. It's really on who they reach out to.
So I guess you need to have the page created, that way you don't have to post it publicly right now, you can work with it, you just.
I already have it. I already have it created and not published. I just haven't worked on it because I don't know what the status of it is, so.
from my perspective, I would think that it could just be a link to the meeting post, to the event, so that if the event changes, the update goes to it. It doesn't have to be a post with the agenda. So if,
That's how I'd recommend it. If
The agenda is fluid.
the agenda would get posted on the town's website, all that would have to get posted on the Facebook page is copy a link, paste it on the post, and then Facebook does the rest.
Now, I guess I got to clarify a thing. Are you asking us to have the department head designate somebody within their department?
So I would leave that, in the policy that I drafted, I have it up to the department to designate who they want to handle their Facebook pages. The Board of Selectmen would only be responsible for the town-wide Facebook page. So you guys would be responsible for designating, authorizing 2, 3, however many people you guys see fit for the town page itself. For the specific department pages, I left those up to the department heads themselves.
Anybody in mind?
For which the official overall page,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be some combination of Caesar and myself, unless you want to add somebody else.
Too many cooks, boys, brother.
Pardon?
Too many hands.
Yeah.
I think it should remain with you and Caesar at this point, and the departments pick someone specifically in their office to handle the paperwork going through.
Most departments have one individual as it is. I just added an extra person in the event.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
What is it?
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
I agree.
It's working well now.
So for the announcements then, what it sounds like the best way would be for the departments to send that information to Caesar or myself, or both of us, just in case one of us is on vacation, to get that announcement posted up, whether, for instance, tax bills are due or something like that, dog licenses, renew, announcements like that. And we'll similarly put up a Facebook page based on that. Messages they received by the official page will be forwarded to the appropriate department. On the static information, Facebook's not great about that. This is, you have to dig into the profile of the page to get to the static information, but I'm not sure how much information you want. Again, that static information should be available on the town's website, so I'm not sure if you want for every single department, board, and committee, some page on the static for the Facebook page, mailing addresses, phone numbers, primary contacts, primary email addresses, list of members of boards and committees. Know that when things do change, like boards and committees, someone's going to have to go back and change that.
So-
It may be prudent to simply have a list of boards and departments, have the links to the town website, and say, if you need that information, here's the link to the website. So if you want to go to the Board of Selectmen page, the list of members and such, and phone numbers and whatever, you'll be able to do it that way rather than worry about trying to make sure that when there's a change on the website, there'll have to be a change on the Facebook page.
Charlie, you're referring to the town Facebook page, right?
The official one.
Okay. Because
So,
we would have a summary of all of
we're
them.
just going to have one official one, correct? We're not going to have,
Correct, right? I
each
think
department's not going to have their own?
every department has,
A number of departments that have them already. Fire, police, Board of Health, Council on Aging, Youth and Rec.
Highway.
Education. So departments at least end up having their own page, but boards and committees, departments, they end up having their own pages.
But I guess for this page, I was looking to make sure that we're posting out the information about the meetings and the agendas and the announcements, not to take away from what they already have out there, I guess is what I was looking at this as just one-way communication, basically,
Well,
besides the messages.
yeah, I mean, we can put, obviously there will be a link to the town's website, so that if someone wants the static information, they click on the town website and they can go there.
Okay.
Can I ask a page, is there a way to not utilize the messenger if you already put in the department's contact information on the post? Does it really seem necessary to have someone monitor that messenger part?
Is that a technical question?
I'm just asking.
Or is that an
what's
operation?
gonna happen, yeah.
Can Messenger be disabled? Absolutely. But I believe the board requested it to be on.
We can't hear anything on Zoom right now.
So Susan was asking whether Messenger could be disabled so that messages wouldn't be there and someone would then have to forward them. Caesar mentioned that yes, it can be disabled. So the question for the board is whether you want to disable Messenger for the page. Again, people still will be able to go to the town's website. They'll only have the email addresses for the department's boards and committees there if they need to contact somebody. Or you're going to leave Messenger open, and either Caesar or I will have to routinely check Messenger, see if there are any messages, and forward them to the appropriate department.
I would think that we'd keep Messenger off for now. Just try this out.
I agree. If what you're doing is working, everybody seems to be buying into it, why change it? So I move that we accept the proposal that Charlie's put forward on the use of Facebook and the website.
I'm not wanting to take credit for something I didn't do. Caesar did
Well-
work on it.
Either way.
Not a problem, it's my job. You're welcome. Charlie, I don't know if you just want them to actually declare who is responsible for it? Correct.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Because we're going to be doing that on a department by department basis, but
At least the town page.
so if you'd like to authorize Caesar and myself for operational purposes for the official page, if we need to make changes, we'll get back to you.
So moved.
Is that part of your motion all together?
Yep.
Ashley, is there a second, or do you have any other comments?
I didn't hear the motion.
His motion was to approve and set Charlie and Caesar as the admins for the page. I'll second the motion. Did you have any further? She keeps going mute, on mute. So I'll call it. Troy?
Yes.
Ashley?
She's there, the mic says she's on.
Yeah, it keeps going mute, unmute.
That's all.
Oh, I'll vote yes. Ashley?
I can hear you now. You sound like President.
So Troy voted yes, I voted yes. So,
Yes.
okay. All right. So it's now 7 o'clock, and we have a 7 o'clock appointment.
Tony Luce. Gordon Andrews or White,
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Peter D'Agostino. I'm here on behalf of Elevated Roots. Joining me is Bobby Palmer, one of the owners of Elevated Roots. The board should have received a packet from us today, a PowerPoint. I just would like to take the board through that. So we are before the select board tonight for the purposes of introducing a proposal for an adult use cannabis retail facility. We previously sent the board a couple of communications just introducing the company generally in a letter we sent about a month or so ago. And then we also sent the board a memo about 2 weeks ago highlighting the location and some of the background of the folks who, Bobby and Barsnab, who are the principals for Elevated Roots. So this is just a follow-up to those prior communications. We've been able to secure the, and I'm just bringing out my presentation as well. We were able to secure the property over at 319 Montponset Street here in Halifax. So with that, Mr. Chairman, if I may, just take the board through the PowerPoint that we sent over and go through a little bit of the background of the company. Would that be okay? Sure. Great, thank you. So Elevated Roots is a Massachusetts cannabis company. We're currently located in Kingston at 44 William Gould Way. That location for us is an operational adult use retail facility. We've been operational since about April. It also in the back is a co-located facility that includes our product manufacturing and cultivation, which is currently in construction, so that process is ongoing. So that's really just a synopsis of who we are. One of the things, I think, just going to slide 3 in your presentation, one of the things that really, I think, has set Elevated Roots apart is our partnership with the community. They're very committed to being a good corporate citizen. We define that as by being responsive to residents' feedback, working with the town staff and boards and committees to really deliver a proposal that meets or exceeds the expectation of the communities. That's really how we define being a good corporate citizen. Obviously, there's a financial benefit to the community as well, but that's kind of relates to everybody. Just by way of background, I want to just talk a little bit about how we came to be. So Elevated Roots is comprised of Bobby and Barsnav are the principals, and it's a very local company. We went to Kingston initially, and Kingston was in the midst of redoing their zoning. So they were going from a ban to rezoning it, and it was a very dynamic time in the community. Elevated Roots was part of all those discussions. It was an incredibly robust community engagement. As you can imagine, I think we did about 10 public meetings, and that consisted of them preparing for town meeting to consider the zoning. It included being before the select board for host community agreement discussion. So it was a myriad of different things. It wasn't just the licensing of a facility. But it was a great experience for us. It was one that went very well. There were certainly some folks in town who didn't want cannabis in Kingston, and I think the thing we're most proud of is when it was all said and done and town meeting had passed the zoning and the select board was considering a host community agreement, one of the folks who was kind of leading the opposition to cannabis said, I still don't want it in Kingston, but if we're going to do it, we think it should go to these guys because they've really worked hard with the community. And that was something we were really proud of. I think that sets us apart from really how other folks maybe participate in the communities. So that was probably our, biggest single, thing that we were proud of during the community process. We really listened to the neighbors. We actually moved locations in response to feedback from the community to a location the town thought would be better, even though we could have gone to the other location. We just moved because they thought it was a better fit. And it was great. We initially were going to do retail, and then we added on cultivation manufacturing, which was a separate process, and the town was really responsive to it. So during the construction, things went very well. We've built a great relationship there, and we think that's a little bit of a testament to how we operate with towns. And I think when we look at these, they really are partnerships, right? We're going to essentially be in business together. We have an adult use product we're selling in town. We need to be responsive to the residents and to the boards. And I think our greatest asset to this board in consideration of moving us forward is our past performance in a neighboring community and your ability to reach out to Kingston and say, hey, how did these guys do? And certainly they're all public meetings. People can reference them. So we're really proud of that. So I'm on slide 5. Now, for your purposes, it's the second background slide. I apologize if they're not numbered. We think, so that's Kingston and how we got started. So let's talk about Halifax. We think that probably the biggest value that we bring to Halifax is really 3 things. One, the location we selected, we believe, certainly subject to your consideration, is very appropriate for adult use cannabis in the town. It's in a commercially located area. It's a large parking lot. It's a large parcel. It doesn't abut residential. all the things that you would expect for us to do, we think that this parcel does. So we think that's important. The other thing we think is important is, given the existing floor plan of the prior business, the construction timeline would be very short for this project. And all of that really translate into be able to deliver revenue back to Halifax very, very quickly in the form of tax revenue and host community agreements, so on and so forth. Just by way of example, I'm going to get into it a little more in a second, but by way of example, since April, we've delivered about $100,000 just in tax revenue to the town of Kingston. So we've moved very quickly. We opened the store in April, and we're servicing about 10,000 customers a month right now, with no lines, no waiting, no outdoor queuing, no issues with that kind of stuff. So it's been very good for us there. So we think those are really the three main things: our ability to open quickly, the fact that we won't need to have a big impact on the surrounding businesses with a large construction project, because this will just be an interior remodel, very, very straightforward, adequate parking, and appropriately zoned. And this does meet your current zoning bylaw as it is today. I'm aware of town meeting last week, and this still complies without any of those changes being in effect. Next on slide 7 is the meet the team with Bobby. I could probably talk for you, but he's here with us. So, very successful business owner, dental laboratories here in Massachusetts. Really, it was a startup, started in mom's garage, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's been something that he's been passionate about. Got into the adult use cannabis in Kingston with Parsons. We started that probably a couple years ago. It took a couple years because town meeting was still going through bylaw changes. This was very early in the industry. And then once all the approvals came in, we opened very quickly. And that was the remodeling of a prior auto body shop. So it was a more significant undertaking than this one was. We also, Parsons unfortunately wasn't able to be here today, but he's one of the principal owners of Roshan Group. You've probably seen them all over the state. They are Richdale Foods, the convenience store. If you're familiar with that company, if you traveled around, you've probably seen Richdale. Parsons one of the principal owners of that. They have over 400 employees in 80 locations throughout the region. One thing I think Richdale is another good example of prior past performance being an indication of how we'll act here. Richdale is a partner with the May Institute that supports adults with disabilities by offering them employment at their stores. So it's just a program that they have within their company we think is a good one. And he's local to Canton. So now I'm on our facilities slide, which is page 8 of the presentation. I think this one is worth spending just a minute on. This is what our store looks like today. This is the actual photo. This is not a rendering. Just to orient the board and for the folks who have a copy of this, on the far left side of the picture is our retail store. You'll see there's a door with frosted windows and then a series of 6 frosted glass panels, if you see that in the picture. So that is the retail store. The door in what is the middle of the building, just to the right of the glass, that is the exit. So the entrance is on the left, the exit is on the right. The way these businesses operate, certainly security is an important thing to us, to the town, to the Cannabis Control Commission, to everybody. So if you look to the left of the left door, you'll see a little window. That's our security window, so security can monitor anything outside the building, which we haven't had. You come into a breezeway, so the outdoor has to be closed for the indoor to open. Your ID is checked right there before you enter the facility. It's scanned through an ID scanner, very typical of this industry. Once your ID is confirmed that you're over 21, you enter the facility. There's a retail space, which I'm going to show you in a minute. You would make your purchase, and then you would leave out the exit. That exit also works in the same way, where the inside door has to close before the outside door will open. So no one can enter, and no children can accidentally walk in, no person can accidentally walk in, they can't slip in the exit. It's very, very secure facility. And then from the right side of the door to the right side of the building, that is our corporate office. So those are our headquarters. That's where all the administration sits. And then behind us, it's a contiguous building of about 20,000 square feet, Bobby? Is that right? 24,000 square feet. In the back of it is our cultivation and manufacturing. So again, very local. 28 full-time employees, all full-time jobs. Which we're really proud of, all local to Kingston area, and we would do the same here to bring local jobs to Halifax. I talked a little bit about growing from 0 customers to 10,000 customers, about 3 months. We're really proud of that. The tax revenue, we talked about that. And then we also talked in our slide to you, we really focus on highlighting local businesses to the extent they want to participate. We have a fairly robust social media, and we include our local businesses in that. We would do the same here. We do plan with the town days of service, which could be community cleanups, so on and so forth. And then another thing that I'm proud of, and these guys did really voluntarily, you'll see the last slide there says on Memorial Day, Elevated Roots donated 5% of all sales to Kingston Veterans Committee. Totally voluntary, town didn't ask to do it, not part of the host community agreement, no requirement whatsoever to do it. And we just think that's important because it just shows how we want to operate with the towns in which we're located. So that's our facility. The next slide, we're on slide 9, it has the white tables on it, just to keep you where we are. This is the actual picture of the inside store. This also is not a rendering or anything else. This is an actual photograph. You'll see it looks like very clean, other retail stores that you may have visited, very clean, white countertops. All the product is contained below the glass. You can kind of see the glass on the top of the tables. It's all secured and locked. All of that is contained within those for viewing. And then obviously the product that they're purchasing is kept in a secure area. So there's no picking up of product and taking it up to the counter. You'll see a counter in the back of that picture. That is those are iPads, just where you could do self-ordering if you know what you want. The door on the right of this picture is the entrance, and the door on the left near the glass is the exit. The door on the side that you see ajar is actually the employee entrance to the staff area. So just give you a sense of what these facilities look like. Very clean, very modern, and you may see other retail stores that look similar to them. So, a little bit about Halifax. Where are we going? I'm on slide 10. It says proposed location. Should be the next slide after the tables. So this is 319 Montponset Street here in Halifax. Existing building, 3,600 square feet, 23 on-site parking, all of this existing, so very low impact in construction to the surrounding community. Previously used as a bank. Really, when we look at that, when you think of traffic flow, customer counts, floor plan, it's a very, very comparable floor plan. So this is a great opportunity, not only for the business, but we think for Halifax, again, to open the store quickly. Located in a commercial zone, complies with all zoning, and not directly abutting any residential. The next slide is the overhead, kind of just shows a laydown of the area where Walmart and Stop and Shop are located, some of the other businesses. We think this speaks a lot to the appropriateness of this siting, of this building particularly. It's very much in what I think the town would expect to see commercial businesses. So that was just an overhead view for you. The next slide is just a top-down view of the facility. It just gives you a sense that this is a fairly large parking lot. We don't have, this is a standalone building. There's no shared access, entrance, or exits with other businesses. It really, we listened to town meeting obviously last week, and I think this really speaks to a lot of things we heard about security and where these things should go and how they should operate. So we tried to be responsive to that. The next slide, I'm on 13 now, it's the front of the building. For folks who aren't familiar with this location, that is what the building looks like. It will largely remain like that, so it'll really assimilate right into the fabric of this area. And then this next slide is just looking to the left, shows the relationship of the parking to the building. So this same flow would be maintained. We're not looking, oh, thank you for whoever brought that up. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Charlie. It shows the relationship of the parking to the building. All of that would be maintained. We wouldn't reconfigure that for any purpose. And the next one just shows the parking kind of straight on view with the entrance to the building on the right. And again, we would plan to maintain that same operational flow of the business. So last slide is just a summary of a lot of the stuff we talked about, and I really want to turn it over to the board for your questions, but limited construction, existing footprint, floor plan, very good, centrally located commercial zone, limited impact on traffic, certainly great tax revenue generator for the town, community impact fee certainly, as you've done with other other businesses, we would do the same here. And then we think, aside from all the things that we think fit into what we've heard from the residents, I also think select board and the town's ability to evaluate us by going to our actual store, and they can go there unannounced and walk right in and make their own assessment. We love that. We welcome it. We've welcomed the board to come by to the extent that's appropriate, and really allow residents to make their own assessment of kind of how these look and operate. And we love that, because we want residents to be able to see what they're getting before they get it, and they can do that right down the road in Kingston. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I've taken enough of your time. I do appreciate it, but I would love to answer any questions the board may have, and kind of, if appropriate, talk about what the next steps would be.
The only thing my main concern, I think it's an excellent location to secure the building, the bank, and you already got a vault in there, so you don't have to worry about the money.
Right.
But my biggest concern is traffic and security.
Okay.
You know, security is key in, where would the security be in this building?
So I will, Charlie, to the extent you still have these up, probably the best one would be the last one that shows the front door. So the way these operate is through, the most technical term from a security perspective is called a man trap. A lot of people think of a vestibule, but what makes it a man trap is that the inside door cannot open until the outside door closes. So it allows us to control people from just walking in. You know, one of the things I heard at town meeting was folks didn't want their children just to be able to walk into the store, and that certainly couldn't happen at our facilities. Believe it or not, it's not a requirement to have the doors locked in that way, but ours are. And it allows us to control who's accessing the property. So the security of this facility would work the same. We would have the front door that you can see in this picture in the parking lot, that outside door, the first entryway, that would be where that door would have to close before somebody could come in. I'm talking about over here. And the security would check their ID. These facilities, just to answer your question a little bit more about security, they operate ironically very much like a bank, so I'll explain that briefly. The way the facilities work is each person's area that they're able to access in the building is based on their role. So let's think of a bank for a second. If you're the person outside doing customer service or mortgages, you wouldn't have access to the teller drawer, and the teller may not necessarily have access to the vault. So they all have very siloed job responsibilities and where they can go in a bank. Cannabis works exactly the same way, and that's how we operate in Kingston. So our salespeople that are on the floor, they may not necessarily have access to the registers because they have no reason to. So they wouldn't, that's a secure door, they wouldn't just go be popping in and out. It just isn't how it operates. In the same light, the people working at the register wouldn't have access to the order fulfillment or vault area if that wasn't part of their job that day. So it works very much in that same secure area. So these have been shown, there's just an article in the Eagle Tribune where Steve Hoffman, the chairman of the Campus Control Commission, really spoke to how safely these facilities have been operated. That story just came out, I think, today or yesterday. So this has become a very secure, safe business. It will look very much like it does today, but with the security kind of behind the scenes, so you're not, overly aggressive in how it looks, but still very secure. And then from a traffic perspective, if you look at the overhead, which Charlie, slide 12, what's really interesting about this location is we have the ability to enter people on the right side of the building and bring them around to the parking lot. So we're taking people off the streets. We don't have cars queuing out in the driveway, things like that. And I will tell you, 10,000 customers a day, we've never had a car queue on the street. Excuse me, 10,000 customers a day would be great. 10,000 customers a month. We've not had anybody queuing out on the street. We've not had anybody queuing outside of the store. We have a very efficient operation, and we have several months of doing that. But this site, again, is unique in that we have that additional entry to the right, and then we have another entry to the main parking lot with an exit. So that will give the engineers, should the board choose to allow this to move forward, it's going to give the civil engineers a great ability to manage traffic, again, without impacting intersections, moving things around. So for traffic and security, I think this location to us seems like a good fit.
Back to security again.
Yes.
Have you given in consideration to someone coming in armed?
Sure.
Yeah.
Could it happen? Absolutely.
The trap's locked.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to proceed into the store, just into that one area.
How would you know they're armed?
Do you mean they get through into the main store and they're armed?
Yeah.
So the way the Cannabis Control Commission has addressed that, certainly it's possible, right? We can't control everything. They could do it at a bank, certainly in the same exact way. We have panic buttons. The staff have panic buttons. They're panic buttons, it's just like a bank, really, truthfully. It's just, it operates very much the same way. So any staff member that had an issue like that, they would be able to call the police right from where they are working, whether it be at a register or some other place. So again, it really does function very much like a bank.
And they're at each location too, at check-in, behind the counters, in the vault, everywhere there's panic buttons.
Throughout the facility.
You say it again?
Sort of like a soccer team near the defense.
Yeah. Yep.
So thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the questions.
Is the ATM staying?
That ATM is not staying, but there will be an ATM inside the building, yes. I don't think we're going to have a drive-through ATM necessarily.
The ATM is staying, isn't it? Yeah, the ATM is staying.
Oh, it is staying in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Ashley, do you have any questions?
I guess my question was, how many, and you may have said this, I'm listening from Zoom, how many square feet is your facility in Kingston?
The Kingston overall is about 24,000 square feet. The retail store is about 3,000, is that
It's
right?
under 3,000.
Just under 3,000 for the retail, and then of that 24,000, so we have 3,000 of retail. This is 3,600, this facility, so they're very similar. We have our corporate headquarters and then the cultivation and manufacturing for a total of about 24.
Yeah, this facility actually lays out better.
Floor plan wise,
Plan,
yeah.
traffic wise, parking, everything. It's actually a much better location all in all, to be honest with you. For us.
Okay, so I'd like a two-part question. One would be, how many jobs do you foresee this facility giving Halifax or locals? How many people would need to have this facility? And then the second question was, I know it's about the same storefront. Do you think that this location will be able to do the same number as Kingston?
Well, we certainly hope it could do at least that. We think this is a really good location. So when we look at our expectations, I'll take the step one step further. When we look at the state as a whole, these facilities are all operating generally the same. There's really three classifications of location. So our expectation is that this would be similar, wouldn't you say, to Kingston?
Yeah, it's a much better, it's much more visible from the street than our Kingston location. So I feel, and when we've done all of our into this particular project, we thought that it'll actually be about 10%, 15% more than Kingston, the draw will be. And we're going to try to obviously, well, not obviously, but we were going to do medical as well. So we have recreational and medical out of this facility because the way that the floor plan lays out, it allows us to do that here. So that would also draw more.
Right, we'd have to come back before the board separately on that, but that is something potentially we could do in the future. But I apologize, Ashley, there was one other question you had besides sales, and I missed it. Oh, jobs. So we have about 28 full-time jobs in Kingston. We think this facility could be up to 35 with that extra 10 to 15% of revenue. So the jobs would typically scale. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, we're going to do some other marketing and some other things out of this location as well.
Yeah. So I think we're pretty comfortable around the 35 number for jobs here? Yeah.
Yep.
We get a 7:15.
Okay. What was that, Troy?
7:15.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Just, they would like to know what's going to be the next steps.
Public hearing.
So, basically, we have a post-committee agreement now that we've signed with another firm. We're using that basically as a model.
Sure.
We should review that. If you feel that, if it as is, changing the names is sufficient, then by all means, send it to the board one more time, review by council. If you feel that changes are necessary, then send those in and we'll start the review process.
Okay.
At some point, we'll get to community outreach public forum.
Sure.
Once we have something in place, the board would attend that and make a decision after that as to whether to sign those community agreement. You'll be working towards getting your state licenses for this location?
Well, we can't submit under the state rules without HCA.
No, I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
But also, then, that's one of the legs. The other leg is going through the zoning permitting process.
Yes.
Doing site plan review and the special permit with the planning board.
Yes. And when for the town would that appropriate to start that? We would typically wait to have an HCA before we start that.
That's fine.
Yep. We'd be happy to start it sooner.
Well, that's up to you.
Okay.
Your decision to make.
Okay. And then just from a timing for, I know you got to get onto your next agenda item. So the HCA, assuming we could accept the town's standard document, when could we reasonably do a public forum? A couple weeks?
Well, it would probably be the second half of October, because that's the public notice for a certain period of time, the butters need to be notified, things like that.
Yep.
So like that, and again, I have to work with the board on their schedule. We've tried not to do that on a meeting night.
Understood.
Because we always have enough other business to do.
Sure. Okay. That sounds great. Is there any motion we need from the board to move forward with that, or we're okay to proceed?
Well, that's a decision you're gonna make.
Get those community.
Okay. Okay, great. Jeff, just wanted to make sure. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the board's time.
So our next appointment is Mr. Parsons at 715 Old Plymouth Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you doing? Good, how are you?
Congratulations on the baby, by the way.
Thank you. Sorry, rushed out here last time. So, I was told by my neighbors yesterday that you sent out a letter saying abutting neighbors to say if they had any issues with my property. Can I ask if there are any in this room right now to see if they would like to talk, or?
So you should direct everything towards the chair, which is me.
That's you?
Yep.
Okay.
So the board received complaints about a number of cars being junk on the property, not being registered. And that's why you received the certified letter at first.
Gotcha. At that time, the only unregistered vehicles on the property were the Jeep that was actually my next door neighbor's, which was actually still registered while I was taking parts apart. My girl's Jeep, which was the Liberty in the driveway, that was also trying to get a new engine because it blew up top bearing right where they're putting in that new place. And the other Jeep was another one I had just gotten that was also registered. The two vehicles in the back, actually the three vehicles in the back, the truck, the K5, and the Civic are all registered. And I didn't know that just having them in the backyard was having an issue with people saying, oh, they're abandoned, they're just sitting there. They were sitting behind brush because I had just taken two trees down and I couldn't get to them. That was the only reason why they were back there. If you want me to move them up to the front so that everybody can see that they're all registered vehicles, I can put them all in my front yard. That's not a problem. Also, with the junk in the yard, I moved everything to the back because that's how I make my extra money, is by scrapping. I have put up a very new fence, left my iPad in my van where I'll be able to show you the nice new fence I just put up. Covers the whole corner so that you can't see anything behind my fire pit. I'm going to extend it another 20 feet to the right and another 10 feet to the left. And at that point, you will not be able to see anything from any grade, any road, anything. So, and also I have moved my carport from the backyard to the front yard so I can put a skin back onto it. I put it over the vehicle I'll be working on at the time so nobody can see anything I'm working on. So the visual will be correct, if you get what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is there anything else that?
Well, it's up to the board. I mean, you may want to do a site visit, confirm which vehicles are there and which ones, and confirm with the collector's office as to which are registered. Also, just make sure they're up to date on the inspection.
The inspection does not matter actually in the state of Massachusetts.
No, the bylaw for the town indicates that we need the cars to be inspected along with registry for them not to be considered junk vehicles.
Really? Is that an actual bylaw in this town? Can you read that bylaw for me real quick? Because that's unbeknownst, and I would like to have that in the filing so that my brother could look at it, since he is the officer in my family. And he likes to look at everything.
Make a copy of that available?
Well, it's on the town website.
But that wasn't something that you were saying that I was in violation of.
Motor vehicle without current registration or license plates for the current year shall be considered to be a junk motor vehicle. That's in Chapter 161, Section 1.1 of the town's bylaws.
Charlie, can you put that up on the screen? like you
License
said?
plate and what else?
Hey, I'm gonna ask
A
him.
motor vehicle without current registration or license plates. We'll get to that.
No registration or license plate, yes. Registration or license plate. License plate is,
Meaning that you're going to have a recorded license, which needs to have the inspection sticker on.
no, the only thing that plate has on it is the registration tag.
And your car has the inspection.
The inspection would have to be on the windshield, not on the plate. But then again, I can drive down any street down here and pick out cars that you should ticket them. Like half the police department cars, I know they don't have inspection stickers.
I guess my question is, what was the main complaint?
That because we have the bylaw that allows for only one junk vehicle on the property, that there's a collection of vehicles on the property that would be considered by neighbors as junk. And so we got the complaints, and
He also wouldn't tell me who complained.
if we get the novice complaints, and we can go out to the property and take a look at it even from the street, and enough information from a visual inspection to indicate that's a possibility, then yeah, that's why we had to come in.
Can you highlight where on there that says inspection sticker?
No, I can't, correct.
Okay. That is, if you're going off of that is not there. So inspection sticker is not viable as not making a vehicle abandoned. A plate or a registration tag.
Then the board would still check and make sure the vehicles that are there are properly registered.
That's fine. I can bring you registrations that say all of them are registered and up to date.
The problem's going to be that the paperwork for the vehicles that you're bringing may not be the vehicles that are on the property.
So are you willing to have a site visit by the board to the property to look?
I don't like people on my property. You guys have already tried to break into my property once before. Your building inspector and health inspector tried to break into my house saying I was squatting after living here for a year and a half. I do not like people from your town on my property. I'm sorry. You have already showed me that you don't care. Because my wife was cowering in the corner with my 2-month-old baby. Because your building inspector and your board of health were banging on my door, screaming at her to open the door.
When was this, sir?
This was 2 years ago. I've cut my tongue for 2 years. They said I was squatting. They could have looked on the deeds and said, my name is sitting right there from the day I got this house. And nobody gave me the respect of it. It's a 200-year-old house with a lot of issues, and I'm trying my hardest to get them done. I am a single-family father. I'm a single working father with 2 children and a wife. I work my butt off to do everything I need to do to put food on my kids' table. And for me having to come here and deal with this, just because somebody threw a complaint out, but now just because of this complaint, you want to come onto my property.
So we had a complaint about the junk vehicles.
Okay, and now you have,
So that is something that the Board of Selectmen
Okay.
falls under our purview.
okay,
So that's why I'm asking that question.
okay. Can you do it on Saturday?
Troy?
I'm available.
Ashley available to do it on a Saturday?
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Are you available on Saturday?
Yes. Yep.
What time?
1 o'clock would be fine.
Well, I've got to double check the soccer calendar. Yeah, I could do the Saturday at 1. Does that work for you,
That
sir?
works for me.
Okay.
Sorry, it's just something like the building inspector thinking you just can take it, yeah, you can come onto a property to see if somebody is squatting, but you should have looked at the deed first to see who would change the ownership of the property before you even went out.
Okay.
But thank you for your day. We'll see you on Saturday.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Gordon, I don't know if anybody else was here for the appointment. I don't know when the board was going to be. It's up to what I just don't know.
Well, if we're gonna open it, I think the board should do the site visit before. So the board understands what's going on at the property.
Okay, I think that's the end of the appeals, as well, we all to get through here and things. We're ready to go back to the Halifax.
Yeah. Sorry.
Social media policy seems to have been updating the draft.
Tell me about them there in about 2 minutes. Do you guys have the option, that sheet right here?
I don't know if it, I don't think so. We're talking about from the other aspects of it.
Why don't we take a 2-minute recess, stand up, move.
Gordon, I already did that. I walked over here.
Well, the audience is welcome to do it too, yes. Caesar, did you email us a copy of this?
No, I did that about an hour or so before the meeting. I did send it to Ashley.
Okay, that's,
Ashley did get it electronic.
okay,
I have it, Gordon.
okay. All right, I'll call us back in. Go ahead, Caesar.
So Charlie and I looked at the the latest draft we have for the social media policy. This was part of what the board wanted in addition to creating the town Facebook page. This policy would scope out to cover every single official town's social media site, department, board, committee page, with the exception of the elementary school. It's to establish a set of guidelines and expectations to protect the town in terms of liability and, professionalism of what gets actually posted on this, the social media sites for the town. Right now, there's nothing in place. everyone's kind of just going at it. This is supposed to help set a template, I'll call it, so everyone has a general idea of what to post, how to post it, reminding them that everything is still a public record, even though it's not a system that we host or manage, for that matter. So, do you have a copy of the policy, Troy? Oh, good. The sheet that Charlie gave you
Yep.
is language specific to section 2.12. Essentially, this is the section that initially got brought up on the first revision about employees putting a disclaimer on their posts if they're engaging in certain topics of discussion, whether it be in relation to their job, a function they perform for the town, or a function they do for the town, or something that the town's actively working on, a project, what it might be.
So,
essentially, the first option is the language that would hold employees responsible for making that disclaimer that it is their own opinions and not those of the towns on all social media sites, including any town ones. So I'll give you an example. On the town Facebook page, you know, we still have to discuss, Charlie and I will talk about the comments and everything and how we're going to handle that.
I don't think you should have comments on. I think it's just,
I agree.
if you allow comments, it's going to,
No,
so.
we'll use the highway department, for instance, who does allow comments. The highway department posts something about a labor job or about plowing. Let's say, you know, it's if I lived here and I was dissatisfied, or I was at some relation towards the highway department, whether it be financially or operationally, if I were to comment as a private individual for my own personal opinion or thought, I would be required to put a disclaimer in there saying, hey, these are my opinions, this is not me talking as an official.
I think if you're posting on social media, unless it's an account that's been approved by the town or an account that's linked to the town, it is your personal opinion. So unless you've created an account that says Gordon Andrews at Halifax Board of Selectmen,
Which we will eventually, hopefully, get in the habit of doing for that reason.
no, well, I'm hoping that we don't do that.
Wait, don't do what?
I'm hoping that each one of the board members and every committee member and every employee.
Oh, no, not to that, not to that extent, I'm saying, obviously, I'm saying not in the public-facing matter. I'm talking about back-end stuff.
I just don't want to see something like speak out.
What is it?
See, that predates Caesar, see the back?
What?
United Sports ruled Europe. There were things called newspapers.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a speak out column in the newspaper.
Anonymous.
Yeah, which was the early edition of Facebook.
Oh, I couldn't hear you. So you get to pick between those two languages. I'm kind of just looking for guidance on how you guys want that policy to be written.
If you're talking about on the town postings, unless it's coming from an official account, I think the disclaimer on the main page is the postings on the site. I think you're better off to say this is an official post of the town, where everything else is not an official post. So if you're gonna go and you're gonna post a link to the next Board of Selectmen meeting, it's from either Charlie or yourself linking to it. I don't think that should be.
Well, I think this is where at least this is where I feel like there's confusion. When Charlie and I are ever going to post on the town page, we're going to be posting as ourselves, like through our accounts, but the public's not going to see that. So think about if,
Because it's going to say the town of Halifax. when it's
correct,
posted.
it's going to say the town of Halifax posted this, and that's going to be an official post. It's not, no one's going to know I posted it.
So just like the same with highway, if they post something.
Correct. So if Steve were to post something right now, it would show up as Halifax Highway, but if he went on there and commented on the post as himself or someone else, we'll say, it would show up as their personal name. And I guess what I'm asking for guidance is, do you guys want employees of the town to add that disclaimer that if they're going to be engaging in communication in regards to whatever the conversation is or the topic, if you want them to be, hey, tell people this is not the town's opinion, this is your own, or do you kind of just want to let it be a free-for-all and let people make their own judgments and assumptions? It's really, is that accurate, Charlie? Is that what it comes down to?
Well, you know, newspapers and media don't tell lies. I mean, everything is straight, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's what we're told.
I mean,
If
you,
they're commenting, would they be commenting as themselves? So it's obviously their personal, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, and that's what I'm trying to say. So if Charlie and I post on the town page, it's the town of Halifax posting.
And if I was
If you or Sandy comment on it, let's say it's a wage and personnel issue, and you guys comment on it, people know you're the town clerk, people know you're the town accountant. So there's going to be the assumption that let's say there can be the assumption that you're speaking as a town official, not as a private citizen.
yeah, unless the town clerk and the town accountant say, I'm saying this as the town accountant. I think that they should, if they're going to speak on a matter in their official capacity, they should clearly identify that. If they're just speaking as a private individual, I don't think they need to put a disclaimer.
So you're thinking that this should be reworded to say, if a town employee is going to
Speak on.
transmit information on a page or comment or whatever the case, engage in any type of conversation on social media sites, whether it be the town's or another private in relation to town business,
I think it's more.
we should tell them that they have to...
It's broader than that because it's really public relations. So who is officially allowed to make public relations? Because you pointed out so in the room, you've got the town clerk, the town accountant, and the director at the Council on Aging. One's elected, two are appointed. So it would be really tough to tell the elected official that the elected official can't say something.
Didn't you just say that on the town Facebook page, we're not going to do messaging, but are we going to allow?
No comments, I'm just using it as an example.
Right, but, so there's a difference. If it's the town Facebook page, there's no comments on that anyway, so I wouldn't be able to speak to that. If I wanted to speak from my office, I would go through one of you and put up, and ask
Yes.
the town accountant. If I wanted to speak as myself, as a private citizen, I would go through my own Facebook account.
Yeah, I don't think what we should do is allow the town account to be used on private groups.
That's not happening.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Because
If
that,
I was making, but if I was making a comment on anybody's posting, I wouldn't identify myself as the town accountant. I think maybe a social media,
So I use...
that says, don't use your title if you're, unless you have permission to.
Posting an official.
In official capacity, yeah.
I use the town Facebook page as an example, because this is going to apply, hopefully, after everyone reviews it, when we go through the process, this would apply to all departments, social media sites, not just the town main one. So this would impact highway, this would impact library, this would impact every single Facebook page that exists as of yet. So that's why I'm this particular language is a topic of discussion, because if this was just for the town page, this can be thrown out, doesn't matter, we're not gonna have any comments on it.
I think you should go back and reword it.
Reword?
That was my thinking.
Ashley?
Yeah, I think it needs to be reworked a little bit.
Are you guys saying reworked or reworded?
Reworded.
Okay, thank you. Did you guys just that section?
That's the one that we're talking about
All
right
right, I
now.
just wanted to make sure if there was anything else in here you guys noticed, okay.
Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
all right, thank you.
And we'll just stay up here, because now I have two more things next.
So what the board did is a totalization. Scott Turner, Susan Wallace, and Caesar had met earlier this month about using paper cutter between the agendas over the front hallway. The paper agendas and permanent notices would be replaced by a monitor which would rotate the agendas and that's people. As part of all that, if you're going to go ahead and do that, the town should do the following: have the board declare the town's website's official posting location for agendas. Since I wrote this, Susan Wallace looked it up, and it appears we've already had that vote in 2010. We have to notify the Division of Local Government of Local 1. And then also, I had already seen this before, but it's all a description of the website, including directions on how to locate notices on the website on or adjacent to the main handicapped accessible entrances of the town hall. So basically, the idea is you put a notice in there on the town hall itself. It says, if you can't get in the building, on Saturday, for instance, you can find the agendas.
Corey, can you,
Sorry.
That's me. Here, I muted.
You can get the agendas, hearing notices and such on the website itself. You want to talk more about the monitoring section?
I mean, essentially what we're trying to do is replace the bulletin board with a TV screen and have it digitally display flyers and meeting agendas so it's easier to update as opposed to having a...
Yes, sorry, I forgot to sorry, yeah, I gotta pay more.
Want to start from the beginning?
Yeah, because I muted, so she didn't hear anything you said.
Essentially, what we're trying to do is replace the bulletin board in front of Town Hall with a TV screen that would connect to a digital signage software that would allow the clerk's office to electronically post meeting agendas, and we'd have the ability to electronically and conveniently post additional announcements on a rotating basis, similar to the fire department sign, except it's not a big LED box, it's a TV screen.
Where
That's,
would that be placed?
can you repeat that?
Where would you place that?
This would be in the same place as the bulletin board in the front of Town Hall. So where the bulletin board is now when you walk in, it would just be replaced with a TV screen. And then the idea is that on that screen, it would cycle through the same stuff that she's posting now in paper.
So we could do like an employee directory and have somebody's picture up there and say, this is the town clerk.
We can absolutely do that, yes.
So what do you need from us tonight? A vote to go forward?
I think we need a motion to Charlie can clarify.
Does the town clerk want to move forward with this?
Yep, I'm fine with it. I mean, to me, the notices are so small, they're hard to read. I think it'd be easier visually for people that do come in to see what, agendas are.
Will there be a way to pull up the one you want?
No, it
So you'll have
is,
to sit there and...
it will not be interactive.
We talked about that today, about how long it's gonna stop clock as it's circling through. And I actually think if we did it this way, we talked about not doing as many at a time. Right now, we could have a posting out there that doesn't need to be up there for 25 days, you know what I mean? So maybe, we would have a book and we would put them up daily as they get closer to the meeting time.
And they can all be scheduled. I'm really going to rely on, and Sue's going to be the one to kind of say, hey, this is good enough.
So you're just going to basically take a group of PDFs, put them into a folder and say, display?
I mean, I haven't tested it to that extent yet, but we're going to look into it. We're going to do some testing and seeing what our options are.
So you're talking about so Sandy's idea is more of a touch screen that you can basically hit pause so you can read it.
I know what you're saying.
And not wait for it to come up, the planning board, and their agenda comes up, and you can read it.
You're making it hard for elderly people.
I know, I asked too much. I mean, basically, you can do that on the website anyways, so.
And we can, I mean, if, I didn't plan on buying an interactive touchscreen display for it, but we can certainly look into it. I don't think I'll have money for it, but.
Have you seen this working in other places?
Digital sign, I mean,
I know an airport.
so digital signage, where I've seen it in other communities and how I've heard it being used, I think for those who followed our tracks and made the website the official posting place, they either got rid of the bulletin board, replaced it with a digital sign, and used it for announcements rather agendas, which we're trying to just replace it with newer technology, which is doable.
It would be a lot like being in the airport with the ruling there.
It's just, it's like you're walking to a McDonald's and the menu's on the screen, except it's going to be agendas and whatnot. There's still testing we have to do, to make sure that Sue is satisfied with the layout and how long it's, it's there.
Can we trust her to do it right there?
I don't know how much more that would be, but.
Well, I can tell you that a 65-inch touchscreen display goes for about $2,500.
I don't like it that much. You could just put in an interactive mouse.
We could. I mean, there are
Just a little pause button.
there are various things we could do.
That would be nice.
Well, why don't you come back when you've decided what we're going to do so we know what we're going to be spending?
So we don't need to vote on the official
Well, I mean, it's already
posting place? You said
done.
it's already been done?
So would you guys want me to go back and get
I think
prices
we
for
should
the interactive stuff?
You should work with Sue on what it is that she wants to provide to the residents, because this is really her project, and
There's a cost factor on each step.
Yeah. I do agree.
Next topic, which is the fiber.
Fiber optic.
For podcast, so the board has been looking at using ARPA money for bringing in a better level of broadband here at the town hall. Susan received two proposals, he's recommending the Comcast one for $34,380 for 3 years. The board needs to vote to use ARPA money for this purpose. At this point, the vote is placed in the decrease in revenue section of the ARPA eligibility, but if we can provide a convincing narrative sufficient for the auditors, it can be really placed under the COVID section or some other section, then it can be moved there.
I know Sandy had a comment about the time frame, because this is a 3-year contract, and I know that there was a time frame you mentioned at the...
Yes, so I talked with Charlie, and the ARPA funds are good for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So we should be fine.
All right.
They're good to December 31st, 2014, as long as we...
2014?
24.
24, you mean?
We're already past 14.
I did that last week and the week before.
Yes, you did.
It's catchy. Although I did say the right time tonight. That's good. I sat in on the meeting with Caesar, Sandy,
Mike Mahoney.
Michael Mahoney recommended it, and also there was discussion of being able to expand the fiber system to other buildings in town at a future point. So I think this is a needed move, seeing that I got unstable internet multiple times on our connection for Zoom tonight. So I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those, so all those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Caesar.
Next, bonuses for employees. The board, I think, we're going to have to go and approve bonuses previously for town employees.
Sorry.
But not really move forward with this, but town council Millen wanted to ask the board some questions to make sure that it was done the way the board had wanted it. And some of them are very, very specific, but she would want the board to make those decisions rather than trying to wing it on herself.
Charlie, you're muted too.
Charlie, did you mute your mic that time?
This mic is not muted.
No, the one on your computer. I muted your whole time. Hold on. There you go, Ashley. Can you hear? Charlie, can you speak?
No, I'm here.
Charlie was muted the whole time. I can hear you now though.
So Charlie's linked into the other mic, but I think earlier, Ashley, his mic on his computer was on. I think that's why you were getting feedback. But he has it off now, so now I need to leave my mic that's connected to all the other ones on. So Sandy's up at the desk now, and she has some questions for us.
So I did send you an email, and Troy, I sent you a memo, asking for some clarifications and some other things for the bonuses. I don't know if you've had a chance to go over this and you have answers, or you want me to just go through it now? It's rather lengthy.
Well, I guess do you want yes, no answers for all of these ones?
Well, let's start with the first one. So is the FY22 bonus, with
Yep.
the bonus is in two parts, an FY22 bonus and an FY23 bonus.
So it was when I talked about this, it was my intent that it would be anybody that was on the payroll as of the date that we took the vote.
Which was September 17th,
Yep.
2021.
And then it would be, I guess I would clarify that you would have to still be on the regular payroll to receive the FY23 vote
Okay.
when that vote comes around. So you still have to be on the payroll.
All right. So if it's any employee, does it matter when that employee started? Are we prorating for people who have only been here a month or two?
I
Or they
think-
get the full bonus?
I would just go with the full bonus, because if we try to backdate everything, I think, you and I talked about some of these questions, and I think you set a date and you just move forward.
Let's play kiss. Keep it simple.
Okay. So that answers that. Let's see. So well, what about someone who comes on after that date? So
They wouldn't be eligible for the
they would not
bonus.
be eligible for the
As long as they-
FY22. So they have to have been here on September 17th?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same policy as the vacation time.
And for part-time employees that don't have regularly scheduled hours, the plan was to average the hours from September 17th, 2020 to September 17th, 2021.
Yep.
Or actually, with some of them, I used the pay period ending
I think that works.
September 12th, 2020 to September 11th, 2021.
Sounds fair.
So that sounds good?
Yep. Ashley, you fine with that?
Yes, awesome. So,
Can she hear me? Ashley, can you hear me all right?
yes, I hear you.
All right.
I hear you, and I'm looking at the email you sent us, so at the same time, so I can follow.
She's reading the email that you sent us at
Oh,
the same
good.
time.
All right. And then is the FY23 payment limited to employees who were here on September 17th, FY21, or anyone who is here as of July 1st, FY22?
I would, do I need to amend my motion, Troy?
Yeah,
From
you're
before?
gonna change it.
So I would clarify the motion to say that in order to get the FY '23
Yep.
bonus, that you have to be an employee as of July
Right.
1st, 2022.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor, Ashley? Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Okay.
Okay, does that clear that question up?
So that also goes for number 4, so no prior employees will get this, correct?
Nope, correct.
I am considering part-time as anything under 40 hours a week. Is this what you had in mind? The federal government considers anything over 30 hours as full-time? And our own wage and personnel bylaw uses 20 hour, anything over 20 hours for longevity purposes. But the anything over 30 hours is what the federal government is saying is full-time. So I didn't know whether you want it to be 40 hours or you want it to be anything over 30 hours as a full-time employee.
Anything over 30 hours?
That's what you think? What do you think?
Ashley? Troy said anything over 30.
It is full-time?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah?
Okay. So,
that. If that's what the federal laws say.
I'll
Right.
move it.
Troy moves it. Ashley, do you second?
Yes, second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So 30 hours.
Okay. So we have some part-time employees who receive a salary, like the veterans agent, the sealer of weights and measures. They're for a limited amount of service. Would these employees still get a bonus, a prorated bonus? And any idea how I'm going to figure out how much to give them? I can work something out. Charlie and I were spitballing a little bit on how to get something, but I would, once we determine it, would pass it by you.
800?
What's that?
800?
All right, Troy moves for 800. Ashley, Troy moves for 800.
For any part-time salary people? Is that what he said?
These are the part-time, like the veterans agent, the sealer of weights and measures.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, all those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Okay. And then I would ask that the selectmen send out an announcement to the department heads and employees regarding the bonus. I think it would be very helpful in stopping a lot of speculation, because there's been a lot of talk already, and it hasn't,
Okay.
we haven't
I
worked,
think
hadn't
your
worked everything
clarifying
out, so.
question should help us in that letter.
Yeah.
Are there other, any other questions you thought of since you sent the,
No, except that I do want to request that we be able to send this out on the second payroll in October, because the first payroll in October is when I'll be doing all the 1% increases that went out for the union, all the retro pays.
okay?
So I'd like to be able to do the bonus separate. I don't want to have it all going out on the same
Is there a
pay
motion?
period, if that's okay.
Yes.
What about a grant position? That's what the grant funded position for like the COA, then they have a grant funded position.
Right.
So who works during through COVID?
Right, I would consider that a town position,
is
even
it-
though it's grant-funded,
is
they're
it
a town employee.
Full-time, part-time?
Yes, part-time, it's actually under 18, well, it's under 20 hours.
So is
Yeah.
it closer to like the veterans agent?
But on anyone that's actually an hourly position, she gets an hourly wage.
can
So I would
prorate it.
figure how many, I would prorate it by the hours that they worked,
Okay.
all right?
So Sandy can prorate that
I would
based on
prorate it.
hours?
She would get something, I would prorate it. Even though she's being paid by a grant, she's considered a town employee.
Yep.
All right?
Okay.
I think.
So is there a motion to move the payment to the second payroll payment in October?
Move it.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Okay, and then with the consent of the Board of Selectmen, I'd like to work with the auditors to determine which opera category this expenditure would fall under, as well as calculating our actual lost revenue figure, where we're spending money, and some of it, a lot of it may be qualified under the lost revenue category. I would like to get a clarification. We're sort of lucky in that the Plymouth County is using Parsons Sullivan
Okay.
as one of the people who is reviewing for qualifications on getting the ARPA money.
Okay.
And that happens to be who is our auditor, is also Powers and
So that works out.
Sullivan. So they do have a formula, they have a way to figure that. And it is one of the allowable uses for ARPA money, so we may be charged, the more information I can give them, the less expensive it will be. So I think I have a lot of information I can give them. I'm not sure exactly how much it would cost, but I think it would be prudent for us to work with them closely to make sure that we're categorizing things correctly.
Do you have an amount that you want us to approve?
Not at this time, I just was hoping to get permission to work with them
So
on
moved.
this.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. So
Thank you.
please do work with them and let us know.
Thank you.
Cindy, while you work with them, can you get answers about the affected communities?
Yes, anything that you have, you give me a narrative,
Okay.
they say it's all about the narrative, so if you can give me, why you're considering it that and what you want to do with it, that's absolutely, we'll run all those ideas by you,
Okay.
all right?
Okay.
So still on ARPA, for Plymouth County, did get one piece of good news from Plymouth County earlier today. They still have money available in their COVID CARES money.
Okay.
So we now allocated about another $110,000.
Huh.
Not ARPA money, COVID, the original CARES Act money.
So I guess Chief Viveros sent an email earlier about the firefighters doing the COVID testing right now for the school, because the school doesn't have the test and stay program ready to roll out. So this week, they were going to do the test. Kendra was going to enter the information into the system that the fire department's been using, and the elementary school was going to provide the permission slips from the parents, so all that paperwork aspect was going to be handled by the school. I believe he had said he thought it was going to be fully reimbursed from FEMA for those hours.
Could easily be. But for instance, $16,000 we just spent last week on what?
Oh, for town meeting, that could be covered, that would
Well, I'm
be,
hoping so, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had put on the COVID, I think that will definitely be covered. There was a reason why we went with the CARES instead of FEMA on some of the things, because you get your money a lot faster through the CARES
Okay.
than from FEMA. So I will talk to the chief as to which way we think is a better way to do it.
okay, that would be great. It would be, do we need to write a narrative to Plymouth County for the
Well,
CARES Act money for?
Act money is always a reimbursement.
So I guess looking forward to the next town meeting, we know that we're still going to have some sort of COVID-related issues between the gym and, because it's not going away. So could we look at purchasing the equipment for town meeting and then just,
Put that narrative together and
Yeah.
submit it.
and then just paying them to actually run the equipment, because I don't think that we have enough staff here to run all the equipment that they're doing, but could we have Scott, Caesar, and ask the superintendent if we could install wires overhead?
Somebody smoking in the building?
I don't think so. You guys don't smell any smoke, do you?
No.
Or cigarette smoke?
Something's bothering me.
So I think if we could get a quote on running the cables,
Is this for,
to leave the cables overhead between the two, between the all-purpose room.
so you want to put the gym in the multi-purpose, all-purpose room permanently for town meeting
Yeah, I think so.
with robotic cameras, all that?
Well, I don't know that you need robotic cameras. I'm saying, right now, some of the expense is they've got to run all the wires, they've got to pick them up. That's a lot of work to run all that stuff, tape it all down, do all that stuff. So if you had the wires in place, you could set up, and the school would benefit from it as well, because it would allow them to have a larger assembly if they're gonna watch something. I think it would be,
So you're looking for visual and
audio.
and audio as a PA, as an element, like microphones?
Yeah, I mean, whatever that they provided that we could purchase for the long term, so that we're not renting it each time, we're just basically, instead of $8,000 per, maybe it's only 2 to have them come in and run everything.
No, makes sense. Do you want,
Do you want to work with Scott and with Steve Pello and with East West?
sure, I assume this is the first time it's getting brought up, so I should send them an email?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I didn't know that we had,
Yeah, we didn't know about the extra 110 until we just found out about it today, so.
I think it would be a great use of the money. Because how many,
Also talked about this here.
well, we approved 7,500. But we did also talk about moving us back possibly up on the stage and having a display set up here where you have a projector come down so that people can see the screen, and then either we have a TV on this side and that side so the selectmen can see what's going on.
We're still looking into that. I'm actually, I'm still waiting on Area 58 to kind of get back to me on
Okay.
their vendor does. I did reach out today. I should hear back hopefully tomorrow. I do want to say that the PA system that we got approved at town meeting for this space, I believe was mobile. It was intended to be able to be transported to the school for town meeting.
Okay. Well, I think if we have this other source of,
So I'll confirm that with East West.
well, I mean, we spent, I don't know how many different town meeting nights we've had in the past year where we hired them. I mean, we hired them to go to Kingston as well. So I'm sure that we've paid for that equipment multiple times at this point in time.
Absolutely, yes, we can.
So if we just have to pay them and they're part of the install, I think it would be, they have a lot less work to do and they just come in and help run the equipment.
So you're looking for a permanent setup to what they did at town meeting at the school, and then you want me to incorporate this into that, or keep it separate?
I would keep them as 2 separate projects. But I think by involving Steve Pello, because they did something similar at the high school, where they had a wire up between rooms. I think if you involve him, you involve East West, you involve Scott. Scott will pull in Matt Durkee if he needs him. I think if you get it set up and listen to how they could use the setup as well, it might costs more in the long run for different functionality, but if they could have a speaker come in and they could have both spaces be used at the same time, I think it would be valuable.
I agree. I think the school will definitely benefit from it. Long term, obviously, we're looking at it at town meeting, but I think the school will benefit a lot.
Okay. So, any other items that came up for COVID-related things that we didn't have funding for, that we decided not to fund? Does anyone remember?
I can't remember. I mean, there's some of those substitutes that we had at the elementary school. I may be able to put in for more of the payroll that I got, because I stopped it like in March.
Okay.
I might get more back on that. That's what I have been working on. But I'm not sure of anything else.
Do you know what they expanded the dates to?
Pardon me?
Do you know what they expanded the date to for reimbursement, when the money had to be spent by?
So what they're asking us to do is to submit everything by October 21st, to go up to our limit by October 21st. And then, if we have something that we know is an approved item that is over that, to submit for it after October 21st. And they might be able to fund it. So that's a really more questionable one, so we can submit it after October 21st, but there's a chance, it's a first come, first serve.
Okay.
And there's other communities who are already at their ceiling, so they're just going to be chomping at the bit for the 22nd to be putting in more money.
So while you're looking at the project in this room as well, I think,
We're going to have to, if you remember, one of the things, and Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was things that were not budgeted for.
yeah, none of these things have been budgeted
Just
for.
budgeted for the PA system in here at the town meeting. So I'm not sure,
Well, we only did that because of COVID.
right, but I'm not sure.
There's no harm in putting it in.
We'll put it in.
Because if they cover it,
Sure.
they cover it. And while you're looking at the project in this room, I would recommend having a computer set up for Charlie and Pam, like a docking area set up, and laptops for the 5 of us.
They have laptops already, you mean the three of you?
Yeah, I think it's, Troy's
they
not
have
looking at me. He's not looking at me. He's not looking at me. But,
Sure, we'll have Gordon just like slip.
well, I can do
Yes.
the motion.
The cards.
We'll attach sticks to your arms, so whatever you guys your arm does.
But I think, I mean, we're talking about digitalization project. We're talking about hopefully getting rid of these signatures for payroll items, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful.
It would be nice to be able to just sit up there.
Sandy, you will check to see which ones we didn't fund.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It'll just be a click of the button then, Troy. It'll be, they missed this one.
So, you guys, how many laptops?
Well, 5, because they don't have laptops for up here, right? Or docking stations.
Yeah.
They need docking stations, I would say.
Because they can just take their laptop up here. They have docking stations.
So thinking for the meetings, right? If you're going to have meetings, it's not going to be just the Board of Selectmen. So if you have it set up to zoom out the meetings,
Yeah.
then you should have two, you're going to have somebody running the meeting, right? And then the biggest board that we have is 5, correct? Although, no, 6 now. With
7 for finance.
So I think this is where my confusion is. We are assigning multi-use laptops.
I would assign multi-use for the people running the meeting here.
Can I also make a suggestion? Right now, we have two Zoom licenses.
Yes.
so that every meeting that's on a Zoom has to be, either Charlie or Caesar have to run a meeting, let people in, that type of thing. Do you think it would be smart to have more people licensed to be able to run a Zoom meeting?
I'm hoping to shy away from Zoom. I want to get rid of it. I think Zoom is awful. I would say that on public TV. We're looking at Microsoft Teams because we already have it as part of our Office 365 subscription. And I'm hoping that, you know, the clerk's office will actually be able to help participate in doing meetings, and other department heads will be able to participate in scheduling their own meetings.
So I think going back to just this topic, I guess, why don't we talk about what we can use the COVID funds for, instead of trying to plan out what the project should be right now? Because we can do that at your next meeting. The IT meeting. So Charlie has the floor back.
So going back to the county, so we had a workshop at 3 for the managers administrators, we had a workshop at 4 for county council and finance directors. At the very basic level, we need, the first move is the board of selectmen to authorize authorize recipient for the ARPA funds. They suggested town managers and town administrators, it would also be the board of selectmen. Also vote to authorize prepare and submitter, which would be in this case Sandy Mullen. She did all the work on the CARES submissions. Similarly, we would work through her, and that's their expectation as a finance director, town accountant. We had send email addresses and cell phone numbers for those two people. Also supply the EIN number and DUNS number, which is easy enough, and then send all that information to the county. This is before sending any requests for grants or anything like that.
So I noticed you said that they said town administrator or town manager, and you wrote in here, board of selectmen. Do you want?
What the board wants, so I'm happy to do it.
That's the way we've been doing it now. I put together the packages, sent them to Charlie, and Charlie's been sending them. So what they're saying is, I would go on and I would fill out the application online. I would send that application to Charlie, or the town, whoever you decide, and he would certify it, send it off to Plymouth County.
Charlie, you've been doing this for a while already, haven't you?
So you're fine with it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a motion to authorize Charlie to be the authorized recipient for the ARPA funds?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay, is there a motion to vote to authorize an authorized preparer and submit it for the ARPA funds, such as Sandy Nolan?
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
So they do have a new website, PlymouthCountyARPA.com. It's a public website in that the public can look at a lot of the information that's there. There's a portal at the website for Sandy and I to work through the application process. I don't think it's up and running yet, but it will be soon. So it'll be in some ways easier than the way we've been handling everything by email and back and forth again. And there was, I think, a little confusion because Sandy was hearing one thing and I wasn't hearing the other thing. It isn't, we may have been told literally different things at the Zoom meetings, that in some cases it will be a reimbursable grant rather than a straight payout. I just sent Tom O'Brien a note before the meeting just to try and clarify that, because I didn't get that information in my meeting, but Sandy heard it at first, so, and that makes a difference, obviously, in terms of just, we need, there end up being a two-step process otherwise, because first we have to get authorized to spend the money, and then get spend it, and then get reimbursed, whereas the idea, I believe, originally was that as long as the county said, yes, this is an authorized activity, we described it, we said how much money we need, they'd send us a check. I mean, we're still gonna get audited, there's no question about that, both by the county and by the feds. But we won't have to go through the reimbursement cycle, so we need to hear about that. As Cindy mentioned, Powers and Sullivan was one of the two auditing firms they're going to be working with to approve grants out of the ARPA money. And also, Cindy mentioned that we'll be working with Powers and Sullivan to determine what our reduction in revenue was. That's going to be a crucial amount because that's somewhat unlimited in terms of use, whereas the rest of the money that we'd be getting from ARPA has specific categories associated with it. So that's where we are with Plymouth County. Let me see if we can move through much of the rest of the mail for today. Thanks to the resignation, just as we appointed Todd tonight, Drew McClincy has resigned from the Finance Committee, so if the board would accept his resignation and thank him, and then we'll start the advertising process again. We're planning the 7th person. Luckily, we're not yet in budget season, we're getting close, so we'll all get the Finance Committee together.
We ought to send a letter of thanks to him and hopefully for future reference.
Is there a second to send him a thank you letter, Ashley? All those in favor, aye? I'm sorry. Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
We got one cemetery deed to sign. Pass that down, and Ashley can come by, she'll come by. Purple Heart Community Plaque and road signs, we have from the VFW, they made a very nice plaque out of the proclamation, which the board had previously done. And also there are the road signs downstairs in the board selectmen's office. We recommend that the board, ask the highway surveyor to post the Purple Heart Community signs.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ashley?
Good.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
I'm happy to announce that as part of the Green Communities Program, the town of Halifax is receiving $200,000 as part of the grant program for this year. The money will be used to continue the efforts to weatherize municipal buildings along with installing more energy efficient light fixtures. The town was one of 59 municipalities to receive grant funds this year. Basically 1 out of 6 communities received them. My thanks to Scott Materna, Matt Turkey, and the staff of the Old County Planning Council and Guardian Energy for doing the necessary work to produce the winning grant proposal. Procedures for public records requests. Does the board want to add this topic to its agenda for the 5th when we're having the community outreach forum on the marijuana store, not the one we just saw, the other one by the liquor store. Or for the next regular meeting on October 12th, the intent would be to work with Attorney Durensis to establish procedures in response to public records requests.
So my intent was to get a response from Attorney Durensis when he's available.
So we'll find out. I think he may be available at 5th, but I'll make sure.
Okay.
Re-precincting, the town will continue to have 2 precincts, with precinct 1 mostly south of 106, and precinct 2 entirely north of Route 106. The number of residents could not vary by more than 5% from the average number per precinct, and this was accomplished by moving one section of the current precinct 1, the area south of Aldana Road, east of Plymouth Street, north of Plymouth Street, and west of the Halifax, to town line, precinct 2. That's going to balance the population of precincts as required by law. The next step is for the board to approve a new map and sign the necessary document so it can be submitted to the state.
When will that be available?
Which
The document that needs to be signed.
is right in your hand, right now. Yeah, we have to send stuff, the board needs to send it off, first to send it back.
And the town clerk, fine with the redistrict? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the re-precincting? Re-precincting?
Moved.
That map has to be certified, I guess, but I guess I'm just
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley? Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ashley, that'll be another thing you need to sign.
So marijuana will establishments, on the day of the, second day of the town meeting, the 20th, the board of selectmen will send a letter by Attorney Leslie Lane Hopkins, representing Missoula Valley, who spoke at a meeting, that night against approval of eliminating buffer. Attorney Hopkins concerned with the proposed amendment on limiting the number of retail marijuana establishments was being misinterpreted in terms of the actual number that would be allowed. Based on the number of existing package stores, the number would be 1, but based on the number of licenses allowed, the number would be 2. So the town meeting did not discuss or vote on the article, but usually come back to a future town meeting. I'm recommending the board contact the Cannabis Control Commission for determination as if the town approves the bylaw limiting the number of marijuana retail establishments based on a percentage of the number of package store licenses, or the percentage is calculated versus the number of approved licenses, or the number of potential licenses within the areas.
So that was a petition article, correct?
And they got more than 100 signatures, so we got 10 signatures for May. So we can see it back on the warrant in May, and I'd like to get that question answered before then. So this would be the Cannabis Control Commission. We'd ask that.
Is there a motion to send a letter?
Yes.
Is there a second? Is that a second to send the letter?
Yeah. Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a long list of sort of computers, monitors, scanners, printers, speakers, copy machines, routers, and phones to be surplus. I assume something on the recycling center or not in addition to us.
I haven't decided where they're gonna go yet. Well, recycling center or someone's gonna come pick up on the date.
From one of the departments.
I mean, as a recycling company.
So is there a motion to approve the surplus property list?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Ambulance abatements for August, $32,487.62.
Is there-
Need to be approved.
Is there a motion for ambulance payment?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Troy?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Town hall front door fob system. I need some decisions possibly, not necessarily tonight, but at some point, for responsibility for issues of the fobs and limitations of the fobs. Basically, it's who's giving the physical ones out, but also who's doing programming that might restrict use of the fobs on certain days or times. I think it's more a matter that Scott and Caesar want to make sure who's supposed to be doing what, so that there's a little less confusion about if someone says, well, I need a fob, well, who's giving the fob, who's setting up the hours and times for the fob use.
For security purposes, I don't see us handing out too many fobs. Because the more keys you have out, the more likely something might happen.
Well, the fobs can also be turned off, that's the good thing, as opposed to having to change a lock and give everybody the key. The fobs can be turned off if the person's no longer authorized to use it. But right now, the system is that Scott has a physical fobs, and you or somebody else doing the program.
It hasn't been defined. You know that Ashley had brought up that she wanted to be fully an IT responsibility and had it as part of the onboarding process for as employees to even come on. The logic is there. It's just a matter of if the board agrees and wants that to be the case.
Ashley, did you hear Caesar? Just hold on. Why doesn't he repeat it?
So right now, it's a shared responsibility pretty much on who's available. If Scott's around, I usually let him know, in my eyes, it's a building maintenance responsibility, and I will help out where I see, where I need to if I'm asked. Ashley had brought it up to me that she wanted it to be brought up at a board meeting because she felt as though that the facility security aspect of it should be included with IT's responsibilities, as we're already securing every other system that we have in place. And I'm the first and the last really department that interacts with employees onboarding or offboarding in terms of their access to town services and resources, and that's her logic. It makes sense. When an employee starts, I meet them, give them their access. There's a process. I show them how to do things. I would give them the fob at that point and program them in as I'm creating all their other accounts. If an employee leaves, just like I would collect a laptop, I would collect their fob along with that and then deactivate them prior, like I would deactivate all their other accounts. So I don't know if Ashley wants to speak on that, or correct me if I was wrong. Is that a good synopsis, Ashley, of what you talked about? Did I walk up there for nothing?
Can you hear us, Ashley?
I can hear you.
So Caesar wanted to know if you wanted to speak to what he just said.
I heard bits and pieces of what he said. My concern I brought up a little while ago was we are doing the greatest of jobs at keeping track of the key fobs, of who has them, if they're even assigned to the right name. We saw on a report that a couple of key fobs have just been handed over and kept with an old employee name. I think it's important to make sure that we're being held accountable and that we're keeping the safety of the building and the employees in the building. And by doing so, I just felt that there needed to be a better policy or procedure on them being given out, who they're being given out to, who should have them. Some boards have them, some boards don't, some chairs do, some chairs don't. We've had a turnover in the last couple of elections. I'm not sure that we've really followed up with some of that. So my thought was Caesar usually is the first and last when it comes to deactivating emails or usernames or getting computers or any of that material. And it might be beneficial to have him have his hands on that as well as part of a checklist policy. If it's something the board agrees with, I have no problem working with Caesar to draft what the thought is there, what the procedure would be as far as issuing, who would have them, all of that, and bringing it back to the board and having you guys decide on that. But it was just my thought when I noticed a couple of things going on, that's all.
So I did want to add that this is sort of a two-part issue or concern. I think the first one is, yes, Ashley wants a policy, there's interest in developing a policy, who needs access, the schedules, whatever, however that gets determined. And I think the other portion of it is we still need to determine who's responsible. Who does the board want to be responsible right now for whatever the policy is? Who does the board want to be responsible for that? I think that, it's a two-part process. I think we're kind of in limbo. I would say if someone says, hey, I need a fob, I usually would, like I just did for a few people, I just said, hey, can you, get a fob for these people? I have access to the system, but I don't have the physical fobs.
So are you currently programming access?
No, I am not currently doing that. I have access to the system because I have access to the server, but like I said, I'm only going in there if someone says, hey, this is an emergency, we need you to deactivate this. That's really the only time I'd have to go in there and do that. Otherwise, I just leave it up to Scott. But I do understand the logic in that, Scott's not in front of a computer all day.
So Ashley, do you want to have a meeting with Scott and Caesar and go over the policy that you want to present?
Yes, I'm completely fine with that if you and Troy agree to it. And then we can bring it back at a future meeting.
I got no problem with it.
Troy said no problem with that, so we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. If you can,
Anything else for me? Am I good?
I don't know, once we get to the next spot, we'll see if we're gonna call you back up.
Well, what's the next one?
I don't know, we'll probably let you sit for a minute and then come back.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about all that. We had our annual liability report, our liability decrease from 14 million to 17 million. It's not because of anything the town did, it's because of the assumptions that were built into the actuarial tables were changed. And so the expectation is that our retirees will be costing us more, will live longer and cost us more in terms of health insurance premiums for the town's contribution.
So before you move on to the next one, so our 3 other employees that want to leave, can we skip to number 29?
Contract for site survey, wetlands work, map 71 lots 18 and 20, 516 Plymouth Street, approval needed so the wetlands delineation can be done.
So we got quotes in, the lowest quote that we had that was from Webby Engineering. They said $8,500 would be the maximum that they would go to. They think it would be less than that, but that was their max number. The other quote came in, I think it was closer to 14,000. So I was hoping that we'd have a motion to approve Webby Engineering for $8,500 to move forward with this out of the ARPA funds.
And that would be out of the decrease in revenue section at this point.
At this point, it would be decreased revenue. My hope is that it would actually end up being affected communities once the project's completed, but for right now. So
moved.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Thank you.
We did, back to that for a minute, we did, we're up to about 3% of funding, which is obviously not great, but it's still better than many other communities are doing. So we're making progress on that. Storage building special permits, what is the name of the planning board will hold public hearings about the proposed storage facility at 214 Plymouth Street, which I believe where the Nazareth Farm stand exists now. Given its location near the commercial center of Halifax, the board may wish to express its opinion about what we expect to be a fairly permanent structure and use of what might otherwise be considered to be a high traffic area, and whether there might be other uses that be more preferable, meaning more attractive or more likely to drive retail traffic into the area. However, there's no requirement for board comment on the proposals, it's simply noting to the board that they are not opportunity to do so. Resignation.
So has the board looked at the proposals?
This board, no. The ZBA and planning board are holding their public hearings at the next month at least.
So could we have the site plan for the next meeting?
I believe we do. We can find it.
Because I think you bring up a valid point that the board should give input to both of those, whether or not we agree that that use is a good use for the area or would like to see something different.
We'll get the information from the board and make it available.
Yeah, I think the traffic flow with the bank being so close to it, the restaurant across the street, and then the red light.
I'll get the plans for that. Police department resignation, special police officer Thomas Reed has resigned from the department effective September 24th. The board wants to send a letter thanking him for his service.
Is there a motion to send a letter thanking him?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And my internet connection went unstable again. All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
The state has approved the town's municipal vulnerability preparedness and hazard mitigation plan. It makes the town eligible for funding for these purposes in future grant funds or grant rounds. It does require the board to adopt said plan. The plan is on the town's website on the planning board section. It's 576 pages, so it's not printed it out. The little thing I did print out was the certificate of local adoption. If the board wanted to vote for this tonight, then it would be just the chair signing it.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Contracts, sergeants for fiscal '22, contracts limited to the across-the-board increase of 1% from fiscal '21 to fiscal '22. All other sections of the contract are still under negotiation. There will be 2 copies assigned. The town meeting had approved the necessary appropriation back last week.
Okay.
The next one would be the same thing for the mixed unit. In this case, this is for fiscal '21 and fiscal '22. Again, town meeting approved the necessary appropriations for both years. So you made signatures on that. And then for firefighters, similarly, the town meeting had approved a 1% increase, and the union also ratified it. So we'll gather signatures for that too. The patrol officers, it's not completed, or return to that subject in a future meeting. I'm not going to need to go into executive session on that.
Okay. I have an update for executive session.
Municipal electricity aggregation program, the actual bridge rates for the 6-month period beginning November 1st are 14.8 cents for residential versus the town's aggregation rate of 10.7 cents or 10.8 cents for the green plan. So residents who would like to switch out of national grid standard offer, switch to the town's aggregation plan, would save a material amount of money during the next 6 months. There's no cost of leaving the standard offer plan and no cost of joining up with the town's plan. Leaving other plans, if you have a contract of some sort with another supplier, may or may not require a fee. Customers should check the contracts, but there's no fee in leaving the town's plan after 6 months if you want to find something better. I'll get that information up on the town's website so people can take advantage of the price savings. We've already talked about the contract for the Wetlands Board 516 Plymouth Street. Town Hall Green Use is a request by the Congregational Church to hold its blessing of the pet service on Town Green on October 10th at 10 a.m. It's set up at 9, rain date of October 17th. We use the parking lot on Saturday, October 23rd from 4:30 to 6. We set up at 4 p.m. for its trunk or treat event. There are no conflicts on those dates.
Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Troy?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Elevated routes, you've already Tom Darby, you've already met with him and appointed him. Elevated routes, you've got that presentation, you've met with Parsons. Agenda listings and conflicts of interest. I need the board to establish procedure for dealing with appointments with the board of selectmen for topics for discussion when the chair has a conflict of interest. For an appointment, the board can designate another member, obviously not the chair, to approve the said appointment or have me contact both members. And either one member approves an added or both members need to approve it. Similarly, for discussion topics, it would work out the same way. The board can designate a member other than the chair to approve said discussion topic or have me contact both members. And if one or both approved it, then it would go on the agenda. In connection with that, immediate interest would be the Plymouth company. They were originally going to be meeting the board tonight, and we postponed that appointment due to conflict of interest. Do the other members other than the chair wish to have an appointment with the business on the agenda for a future meeting, such as October 12th? And then I need to go back to work out how you're going to deal with situations like this in the future.
What are you looking for, Charlie?
Well, first of all, we can, but so the board would, board needs to recuse himself.
Yeah, so I'm recusing myself from,
make the decision on whether to have Halifax come in for the October 12th meeting.
Well, I think they deserve, that they've been working on this for a long time. Is this because of the host agreement?
No, this is sort of just like the meeting we had with Elevated Routes earlier tonight. Sort of the initial appointment is the meeting presenting their business plan. And we would go on from there.
What's your feeling on Ashley?
Did they send me, Red Charlie, no, Elevated Group sent some emails to introduce themselves and get to the point where they're at now?
Well, we can have, yeah, I mean, we can make the appointment and have them send the information in the meantime. We've got 2 weeks to the 12th.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, we could always be getting written communication for anybody who wants to have an appointment with us to make sure that we're leading them in the right direction. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want anyone coming in and sitting in front of us and us not knowing why they're coming in and then say to them, well, you know, nice to meet you, but you're kind of wasting your time. You should go here first. You should do this, or you should do that. So I think it would just be more helpful to the board in the future for everything. Just if anybody wants to make an appointment with us, that we're given the written communication as to what it pertains to. And that will help us be able to make a good call on if it makes sense for them to sit with us now, if it makes sense for them to sit with another board first and keep the process moving so we're not wasting anyone's time.
I'm not, but
So,
I understand what you're saying. I don't know what you want me to do with them though.
I mean, if they've given written information as to what they're looking for.
Well, if they want to operate a retail store at map 95 lot 10.
Did they give that to the board in writing, like a living?
Yes.
Yes.
I have emails from one of the principals saying that.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it would just be great from here on forward if we set the routine, when we have appointments, we're given meetings for people in municipal appointments, which is less walk, good, and or just reading on the agenda, a name and an address, that's all I'm asking.
So, what's your position? For or against them coming in?
I would like to see the written information, and if it seems like they should be sitting in with us right now and on another board, then I'm all for meeting anybody.
You know, I will get that information out to the board. I will say that what they want is a similar meeting to what you had with Elevated Routes tonight. I mean, they want to introduce themselves, their business, and see if there's interest by the board. I mean, there's no point, for instance, in them going to planning and zoning or anybody else at this point if the board isn't interested in the business coming to town.
Okay, so if you want to send us the information they've sent you, so we can be ready for the meeting with them. We can meet with them.
But it's no, I will get that information out. Is the board okay with making an appointment for them to come in on October 12th?
I'll move it.
My second.
All in favor? Ashley?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I guess, more generally, I don't know how you want to handle requests. I mean, I guess you just mentioned how you want to handle requests in the future for appointments. I mean, I don't know if that's for all appointments, or is it just ones that Gordon has a conflict of interest for? And then similarly for discussion topics, how you want to handle those.
I actually spoke to Paul today and gave him some of our agendas and how we've been doing things. And I think his idea was October 5th, he can make it to one of our meetings. So if you want to put on the agenda, the procedure or however you'd like to word that, you can speak with Paul about it, about how the best practice that would be to make sure that situations like this don't arise and everyone's able to be heard and we're getting what we need before our meetings. So I would like that next agenda, and I know we can sort this with town council.
Yeah, I can do that. The board, is that okay with the board?
Yeah, put it on the agenda.
Little project contracts, board already awarded the contracts, I just need the board to sign them. Either for the projects over at Post Tavern and the town hall, so that is the interest for that. That's the end of what I have.
You need a vote on that last one?
No, because the board already awarded the contracts. So the union contracts, I have nothing to bring to the board tonight, but I know.
I have an update for executive session, so. I move that the board goes into executive session for contract and negotiations with the update on the Halifax Elementary School Committee Union negotiations as discussing strategy with respect of collective bargaining in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, and the chair so declares.
And we'll adjourn from the session.
We would adjourn from executive session only to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Good.
So it's roll call. Ashley?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Okay.